Hi, on the Woodpecker today, I'm installing the front doors. In my last episode, I did the window frames. Now I must do the frame for my front doors. They can't stay lying around on the floor like that. Their installation is special because the frame is screwed to those posts without any shims. The first thing we do is to get 2 boards from the basement bathroom pile. Then, just for fun, we got them out of the house through that window. It was really pleasant. They were too long, so I cut them. They were too wide too, so I ripped them a little bit wider than I needed. The next morning, I get my jointer and joint one side. Then I pass them through the thickness planer. Then I can finally rip them to the right width. After several hours of work, we finally have all the wood we need to make the front door frame. Next, we cut them to length. Before doing anything, I sand all the boards. Now I can make the hinges template. I cut a strip of MDF to make a master template. It's done the same as the window template, with a hinge and a spacer of 3/32 of an inch. I cut it and filed to the line. Finally, I use it to make my final template. The placement of the hinges is inspired by a solid maple door we have at work. It's time to clamp the template to the door and cut the hinges mortises. Then I try 1 hinge and make 7 others. The side of the frame is taller than the door, so I center the template, clamp it down, and cut the mortises. Then I square up the corners. When all the mortises are done and fit well, I make the holes for the hinges. I begin by drilling a shallow hole with a Vicks bit for a number 12 screw. Then, with a longer bit, I drill a deeper hole, but the hole is still too shallow, so I drill it further with a smaller, longer bit. Finally, I replace the hinge in place and screw that screw. Now I just have to do the same thing for the rest of the screws. When all the hinges are screwed to the door, I can screw the frame part. I begin by clamping the frame to the door. But the rest is fairly similar to the door side, except that I use only 1¼ screws. In the end, I have a nice moving frame. Now that the doors are ready to be installed, I need to staple a seal on the posts. Then we can install one door in place. I screw a small screw on top of the frame just to keep it in place. And one on the bottom too. Now I can try it. It's time to install the second door. To secure the frame to the post, I screw a 6-inch screw in front of each inch. Then I drill 3 more holes and put 3 more 6-inch screws. Unfortunately, in the end, the doors don't close properly because the posts are not perfectly parallel to each other. There's a 5/16 difference between the top and bottom. So we remove each door and plane them to make them fit together. But before screaming victory, we need to put them back in place. But this time, instead of using small screws, I use real screws. And victory! I can't even see my own mistake. It's incredible how such a heavy door moves so nicely on hinges. Now we can cut the top of the frame. Before putting it in place, I pre-drill pilot holes so I'll be able to screw it to the sides. Then we put it in place and screw it. Next, we install the 2x6 frame, which the exterior and interior planks will be nailed. In the middle, I screw an 18-inch screw to keep everything in place. Now we can put the first protective coat on the frame. But the doors don't have any stoppers, so I cut some and drill pilot holes. But before screwing them in place, we clamp the door in the closed position. Then we go outside and screw the stopper in place. If you look closely, on the top of the door, I stick some spacer to simulate the thickness of the weather stripping I'll be using. Then I make a quarter round profile on 2 sides of a thinner plank, which will be the center of both doors. And cut it to size. Now that my door is pre-finished, I need to use epoxy glue. I mix a batch and spread a coat on the board. I also spread a thin coat on the door and use several clamps to hold the board to the door. The next morning, I remove the stopper and spread a protective stain on it and do the same to the small board we had glued the day before. Then we can reinstall the rest of the moldings. Next, it's time to install the doorknob. When the center of the hole saw goes through, I switch sides to finish the hole. Then I install the latch. I bought a keyless doorknob. The installation is the same as a normal one, except that it has an additional layer between the door and the interior handle of the knob to hold the battery. Now it's working as it is supposed to. But when I try to close the door, I have a surprise. The doors don't close because of the doorknob. It's almost nothing. So I mark the placement of the knob and plane the door a little. Now the doors close. After sticking the weather stripping all around the doors, I install the top barrel bolt on the door, which doesn't have an handle. For the bottom one, I need to drill a hole into the concrete. But I have a small problem. The bolt isn't long enough. So I use a grinder to modify the barrel. And now it's perfect. I just need to fix it in place. Next, I can install the strike plate. I finally have a set of locking and closing doors. There's a big opening in the bottom of my doors because of the concrete door seal. I'll deal with that later if I want to keep the cold and vermin outside, but I guess I can tolerate René's rat. Those are my front doors and I really like them. The glass will be installed when the exterior walls will be done. Thanks, and see you later for the installation of the exterior walls on the Woodpecker.